and welcome to WRPB and WRPB Studios. You know, health has really hit the forefront, even though it's always been around, but it's really hit a peak for a lot of reasons. And some of the reasons are that we don't understand, as lay people, the different facets of health. You know, you have health and nutrition and chiropractors and physical therapists and MDs and DOs. There's all kinds of pieces. I wanted to find out a little bit more about physical therapy, so I was blessed to get Dr. David Hartwig. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So I could tell you now, because I'm older than dirt, that years ago you would have been David Hartwig, physical therapist.
Yep.
There'd be no doctor in front of your name.
Correct.
Okay, and at this point you have that doctorate and you use the DR in front of your name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my first question is, why did you get into this?
Well, main reason I got into this was to help people lose weight. So I started out working in gyms at the age of 16 and ran into a guy that had the initial PT on his name tag. And at the time, PT, we had PT on the back of our gym shirts.
Personal trainer.
Yeah. And he put an end to that because it's a misrepresentation of
Right.
what they do. And I asked the guy, I said, well, what do you do differently that I don't do? And he said, well, why don't you come find out? So I did. And his name was Kevin Murray. He's probably got his doctorate now. He is probably one of the best physical therapists I'd ever seen in clinical practice. And went on to work for him when I got out of grad school. But it took about 5 minutes for me to realize this guy had more knowledge in his pinky than I did between my 2 ears.
But understand something. How old were you then?
When I met him, I was 19.
Okay. So when I started in real estate, I was in my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I would get called to the boss's office, and he was like 6'3", 300 pounds, and he would yell at me.
Mm-hmm.
Until I finally realized that maybe I should listen. Okay? He's driving a Rolls Royce, and I'm driving a Honda. Maybe I should listen and learn. And that's part of the problem. Most people don't know. And again, that's why you're here. So how long are you doing this?
Been doing this for about 12 years.
Okay, so we know why you do it. We know how long you've been doing it. But what do you do? What is physical therapy?
So we are the movement specialists. So basically, we whether it's range of motion, flexibility, running, jumping, cutting, squats, functional tasks at work, anything involving human movement, we study. Okay,
so here's a scenario. 2010, I filmed a reality show. I got a lung illness, and it ate away at 40% of my lungs, and I was in the hospital for 28 days. Got out of the hospital, and you know, we're guys, so we're not always that bright.
No.
And they said, go to rehab, and I didn't go. So I was out walking the dog, probably 3 weeks after I got out of the hospital, I fell. Couldn't get up.
Mm-hmm.
I had to crawl to a car and use my arms to pull me up to stand. In rehab, is it physical therapy? Is that like what you do to make, like my legs have, now this goes back to 2010, 11. My legs are still not what they were prior. If I go down and bend down, it's still hard sometimes for me to get up. So my question is that part of physical therapy?
Absolutely. So we haven't had your physical therapy evaluation just yet, but I strongly recommend that everybody get a wellness evaluation every year. In physical therapy, you know, medicine has caught up with it in the concept of prevention. And prevention in medicine is doing your blood work every year, getting your blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason they do that is because they know if they catch you having hypertension early, they can prevent heart attacks. In what I'm doing, which is very unique to physical therapy, is I'm trying to help people prevent their problems from ever occurring. And they're easily preventable. So, you know, when I do my exams, there are underlying deficits in movement that can contribute to pain with bending over, mild things. But these mild things can become, you know, much, much worse and debilitating.
Well, you know, here's the thing. It's 2011 since I've had strength in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought a treadmill. Okay? And my question is, you know, when you lay down and you're in a hospital bed or whatever, your muscles atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's now 10, 11 years. can I repair that, or is it too late?
So it's hit or miss, depending if you have like progressed to severe arthritis. So there are things that I am incapable of fixing, such as a rotator cuff tear or bone-on-bone osteoarthritis.
I don't have any of that so far.
So if an individual has no underlying surgical needs, the answer to that question is absolutely we can help you.
I mean, it's a stretch for me to bend down and pick up something and get back up. Bending down is not so bad. Getting back up is tough. So my mom passed away, but I had bought her for her 90th birthday a slot machine. So I had a cup of coins on the table, and the cat knocked them on the floor. And I left them there for 2 days because I dreaded having to bend down, pick them up, and then get back up again. And it's easy to get back up if I have something to hold on and pull me back up. And I always think that I can't fix that. So I said, you know what, let me at least try to see if I can put a Band-Aid on it and get a treadmill. And I started doing 5 minutes a day, and then went to 10, 15, and then I got sick. And then that treadmill that I bought became like most people's treadmill, and it was a great place to hang clothes.
Yes, always a good place to hang clothes.
And I just
and TheraBands.
Right. And I just pulled it back down again and put it in my living room. Is that a benefit for somebody who's like me that has weak muscles, I guess, in their legs?
A treadmill?
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Every body is different. So, and it depends where you are in your stage of rehabilitation. If you have an active problem, it sounds more like an inflammatory issue for you. And there's the wellness route, and then there's the physical therapy route. And my industry has, really focused in on fixing people with inflammatory problems like yours. And I feel that is a great, and we can do that. We can fix those things. The question is, what exactly are your deficits? And that's why the examination and evaluation in physical therapy has evolved in evidence-based practices. So using evidence, using normative values collected with people that are healthy and comparing your values to those people. Those people don't have pain, you do. What makes your body different than theirs? Identifying the deficits objectively first. And then after you objectively identify them, you do something about it. So it could be your hamstrings are too tight. Muscles can be too tight and weak.
I think that's where I'm at.
Probably. But I wouldn't know until I actually through the exam. But, typically men have characteristics, and females have characteristics in terms of their what we call phenotypic expression, which is basically how we look.
Right.
And characteristically, like my facial hair, your facial hair, that our testosterone levels, influence men greatly in how we present. So for men, it can be a lot of flexibility, range of motion issues, because we have the testosterone typically to help build the muscle. We just don't have that testosterone puts us at risk for tightness and range of motion limitations. Females, a lot different. They can have range of motion deficits, but usually their problems is a global weakness, or they're too flexible.
Interesting. For me, I don't have pain. Like I don't have pain every day. I'm one of the few that live in Florida that don't have back pain. Okay.
That's a blessing.
Yes, but again, it doesn't pain me to bend down. It doesn't even pain me to get up. It's just hard to get up.
Right.
Okay. It's like my muscles are weak. Now, this is the part where you're gonna hate me. But is diet a part of the issue?
Obviously, diet can be impactful in terms of energy level.
Okay.
So, like, if you have a crap diet in terms of what you put into the system, it's like fuel. So, if you put the wrong fuel in the machinery, the machine is not gonna run well. And we know that even with octane and gas, if you have a high, something that requires premium gas, and you put less good gas in it, like 87 or something, it's going to not fire right in the engine. So nutrition can have a big impact on things, but really when it comes to like weight and mass, in order to lose weight, you need to create a caloric deficit. And that's why I said I originally got into this industry to help people lose weight. Because what I found was individuals like you that would, they'd commit. It's January 1st. I'm going to lose whatever. And they start out bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, heading this direction. I'm going to get a trainer. And no one's really taking a look at what your body is capable of at that point in time.
Right.
And that's the key, is where are you right now and where will you be? And unfortunately, we just wait until the personal trainers hurt you or you hurt yourself, one of the two, and then we clean up the mess.
Where you talk about hurting yourself, that comes into a line that I say all the time: always, always, always use a professional. Okay? I was talking about an inversion table that I have. People could go out, they I have back problems, I'm going to get an inversion table. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but talk to your professional to know how to use it, how often you should use it. My situation's tough because I had atrophy of my muscles, and then years later, 9 years later, 8 years later, I had a heart attack and triple bypass. I had lost 40% of my lung function. So I have 40% less lung function, and I had triple bypass and a heart attack. So I'm only going to, I don't want to say poor pitiful me, but there are limitations in what I can do. Okay? Plus I'm terrible when it comes to diet. I don't need anything.
Well, at least you know that.
I don't need anything that's green.
You know.
Okay? And if at one point in time, if it wasn't fried, it wasn't worth eating. I did and have given up soda. I might here and there have a ginger ale or a 7-Up. Never a dark soda. Okay. I haven't had Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, any of those in forever. Okay? And there's times I could go for a McDonald's burger, but I'm afraid that it'll become a trigger and start me up
Slippery
again.
slope.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but people say, in moderation. Well, I've always been one against drugs. But someone will say, yeah, well, I smoke pot, but I only smoke in moderation. Well, you don't know that once you start. You don't know if it's going to be a trigger. Once you start drinking alcohol, you don't know if you're going to get addicted. And so you don't know what your triggers are. And for me, it wasn't worth going and getting a Big Mac or a quarter pounder thinking that it's just easy. I'm always running. It's just easy to stop and do that.
I've been there.
Okay.
I had Taco Bell this week. So.
I did. But again, if you don't have it for another couple of weeks or whatever, you're okay. It's not that terrible a thing. But things become triggers. Within what you do you discuss diet also? Is that... Because you talk about
one
weight
of the big
loss.
things I teach people is I leave the dieting to dietitians, and I would or nutritionists in terms of education, but definitely I always have the talk about glucose and making sure before you exercise that you have eaten appropriately. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, they go in exercising and think, well, I'm trying to create this caloric deficit, so I'm going to eat small meals and then I will lose weight. But if you don't put enough fuel into the machine, it can run out of gas. And when it runs out of gas, you get into this, quote, hypoglycemic situation where it can be very deadly, especially with diabetics. So, I definitely talk to my patients about eating a good meal before they vigorously exercise, because you gotta put fuel in the tank in order to drive the car.
But people think that, well, I'm defeating the purpose. I'm putting in, and I'm just going to pick numbers, 1,000 calories, and I'm going to burn off 1,000, but it doesn't work that way. Again, I've been around a long time, and I've filmed a lot of stuff, and they came out with a thing called a Krispy Kreme donut burger. You ever hear of it?
No, but it sounds amazing.
Okay, so it's a hamburger with lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles, ketchup, mayo, and the bun is 2 Krispy Kreme burgers. So I was the first person to eat it, okay, at the fair, and it's probably 3,000 calories. So I was talking to my doctor. I came into the fair to do that, and I said, Doc, I felt really guilty, so I walked the whole fair. He said, Wayne, you took in 3,000 calories and you burned 90, okay? It's not a balance. Now, I don't eat that regularly, and when I first heard about it, I said, it's kind of weird, but if you think about it, you take the ketchup away, because I didn't take it with ketchup, and the sugar from the donuts give you the ketchup sugar.
Right.
I hate to say it, but a lot of times a burger is a way to get other flavors in your mouth. Because I had a burger that was made of chickpeas and all kinds of other stuff, no meat. And I didn't really know because it had onions and tomato and mayo and ketchup. So I really didn't know. So I think that people really need to know things like, don't get on a treadmill Okay, when you fasted all day, because that
Or lift weights, or work out in the yard, and so like we talk about creating a caloric deficit, and if you create a situation like your doctor was saying that you burn 39, you put in 3,000, so the rest of that 3,000 is going to be stored as what?
fat.
Bingo. So
I only know that word, fat.
yeah. So the idea is to eat well, and then burn the calories through strength training and things that will burn more calories. Walking is the most efficient manner in mobility on the planet.
That's really?
Yeah, and on the moon, it's not walking. On the moon, it's jumping.
Okay.
They hop because that is the most efficient mode calories. So humans historically have always been running from famine, lions and tigers. We were not the dominant species on the planet back in the day.
Now we're couch potatoes.
Now our bodies are still have that genetic tendency to want to store those unused calories as fat because it's greedy. The brain's like, I don't know, we might have a famine soon, I'm not sure. And that's where you get diseases like, diabetes and things like that.
Okay, we're getting to the top of our time. How do people find you? You have a phone number?
Yeah, so you can reach us at 954-932-8527.
And you're located?
We are actually, I rent out of Powerhouse Gyms in Stuart, Florida. We're at 3216 Southeast Federal Highway in Stuart, Florida, 34997.
Doc, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for the knowledge that you gave. But I'm going to tell you guys, there's probably a ton more, a bunch more knowledge that you would need, and it goes back to use a professional. Give Dave a call, see what he does. You have a website?
Yeah, so atlashealthandwellness.com is our website.
Everybody check him out. Doc, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Everybody have a great day, and we'll be right back.